After another victory, the Minnesota Vikings are 5-1. Where do they land in our Week 7 power rankings? Find out right after this. I don't know what the NFL is this year. There's so many teams that just so many of these games, you're like, oh, this one's a lock. There's no chance that this team's going to win. That team wins. It's insane. Like I'm doing
especially last week.
I'm doing a pick'em league, and I don't think I've had 1 week where I've, not had at least like 4 or 5 wrong. It's such a weird year, which again makes these power rankings so difficult to do.
Yeah. Especially last week. Last week was really, really crazy. I mean, the Jets beat the Packers. We'll get more on that later quickly. What was the other big ones? There's the Jets, Packers. Tampa Bay lost to Pittsburgh.
Yep, that was the biggest one of the week.
Yeah. And there's one more. There's one other wild one too, I feel like. And
Atlanta.
What it was. Atlanta beating the 49ers.
Like,
beating them good. Jets beat them good. Steelers and Tampa Bay was a little closer, but still, man.
Giants. I mean, is it really an upset anymore when they're 5-1 now? But Giants over the Ravens, like it's weird. It's a weird year, and like I said, makes the power rankings that much more difficult to do. So without further ado, let's jump right into those.
And we're gonna do something a little bit different. We're just gonna run through really quick the top. 22. We're gonna get to
11.
32 to 11, and then we're gonna go spend a little bit of time on the top 10. And we are also asking for you to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell, get notifications for more of your videos, our videos, not your videos. Unless you want to be on here, you can do that too. Just let us know. And anyways, let's jump into this.
Yeah. All right. So GG Sports Podcast Power Rankings Week 7. Let's go. We'll just run you through 32, of course, Carolina. 31, Chicago Bears. 30, Washington Commanders. A lot of these teams are just so bad. Houston with a win, actually, moving up 29. The Lions, even on their bye week, they still lose. The Browns, the Broncos, the Steelers. Hey, they found a way to beat the Bucs. So weird. Arizona, it's so weird.
Yeah,
Arizona
is back, but
when he comes back, I think that'll help them out a lot, especially since they're facing a very weakened Saints team Thursday night, which will be tonight when you guys watch this. But weird team there. Seattle. Whatever with Seattle, they're who knows. The Saints, of course, injury bug has bit this team pretty hard. The Raiders, if maybe they'll be better when Devontae Adams quits pushing cameramen. The Jaguars, we had them up at 13 at one point, and the Colts being at 19. Colts 3-2-1, actually pretty solid from where they started. And I think they'd be this good.
To the Jets.
Remember when they had the Packers at like number 3 in the power rankings before the season?
They want them to be good so bad.
This roster is so good. Our defense is going to be like top 5. We have stars all over the place. Yeah, right. The Packers are trash.
Devontae Adams is leaving doesn't matter.
And the best thing
Adams doesn't matter.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's not a big deal. Look what he's doing with the Raiders. It's not about what Devontae Adams is doing with the Raiders. It's about what the Packers aren't doing with Devontae Adams. That's all it is. So 18 is a fair spot.
Boo Packers.
17.
Boo.
Boo Packers. Boo. No pack. No.
All right.
Blow pack. Blow. Whatever you want to say. Atlanta Falcons 17 after their win. Miami Dolphins. You want to talk about the injury bug, man? This team's got it hard. Once Tua gets back this week, though, I think they'll have a big turnaround.
Yeah.
New York. Got to give them credit. 4-2.
Definitely. Big jump. Biggest jump of
the New Jersey / New York teams, man.
Power rankings. Yeah.
Huge. Tampa.
They could have went down more. It was just hard to put them lower than these other teams. But they had a bad loss. That's bad, really bad loss.
You know that they're going to be in it by the end.
Yeah, it's Tom Brady. He's just waiting for people to keep calling him washed or something, and then he'll turn everything around.
Like the biggest threat is Atlanta to them right now, which is really weird to think. But
yeah,
Marcus Mariota playing pretty well over there. By the way, one thing I wanted to say about Atlanta with this game. Did you see that the head coach brought the offensive linemen to like one of the bars in the stadium, and they all got beers after the game?
No,
the linemen are still wearing their jerseys and stuff.
Hey,
yeah, pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's what I like. I like
exactly.
That.
All right, number 13, the Rams. I still don't know what to think about this team. Obviously, beating Carolina isn't really anything to be super impressed with. But a win's a win.
Other teams lost.
Right.
Packers, Tampa Bay, other teams in front of them lost.
And as we say with the Vikings, a win's a win. So you take what you can get, especially, with kind of how things are going for them right now. New England, 19. Belichick's got this team kind of turned around a little bit. Bailey Zappi's playing well.
Yep. Interesting what they'll do with Mac Jones. I
Yeah.
obviously they're going to start him, but it'll be interesting to see what happens to this team once he's in there.
For sure. And then number 11, you have the Tennessee Titans after an 0-2 start, looking pretty good, coming off
They had a bye this last week, but obviously, again, those other teams lost some bad losses. So
for sure. So all right,
top 10.
Drum roll, please. Top 10. Here we go. At number 10, we have the San Francisco 49ers, obviously getting shellacked by Atlanta. This team's still good. Defense is obviously solid. They have all the talent in the world on offense, receiver, offensive line wise, especially when Williams gets back over there. And then, of course, you got Jeff Wilson Jr. at running back. The biggest problem with this team, I hate to say it, is Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, he's what everybody thinks Kirk Cousins is. You know, he is that game managing quarterback who just, you know, he has a couple big splashy games, but for the most part, like I don't know. I've never trusted Jimmy G.
Yeah. And this is it's funny because this whole season so far, I was like, I don't think San Francisco is as good as everybody wants them to be, just like the Packers this year, honestly. And then last week I was like, I gave in and I was like, all right, San Francisco is that team, even though with their loss against Chicago week 1, and then they come out and get smacked by the Falcons. So again, I don't freaking know. You can't lose games like that, I feel like. But the talent is there, their defense is there. So, I mean, drop to 10.
Yeah. Moving on, number 9, Baltimore Ravens, blowing another lead to the New York Giants, of course. I don't know, man. This Baltimore Ravens team is just so weird. Maybe when a Minnesota Golden Gophers former receiver Rashad Bateman gets back, this team will take another step forward. But you think everything would be good on offense, but Lamar Jackson turning the ball over. Obviously, the defense letting the Giants back in that game, which was also because of the offense with the turnovers, man. I don't know. Again, I love John Harbaugh as a head coach, but I don't know. Just something seems off with this Ravens team this year. So,
yeah, they're winning big games. Like I think the week before, and actually I have the team that they beat last week in Cincinnati. Just, I don't know. The Ravens are, I mean, there was that big, they were way ahead against Miami and let Miami come back. There's just, I don't know. They're letting teams score a lot against them. Every game they're in, it seems to be close, no matter who they're playing. A lot of the times, maybe not so much in the beginning of the year. They're kind of up and down. I mean, obviously, if they get things together, I think they can continue moving back up. But that was also not a good loss by them. But it is against a Giants team that is just continuing to surprise everybody. So we'll see them in a little bit.
Sure. And like I think, I mean, I don't know. We'll talk more about the Giants when we get there. But I think at the end of the season, obviously, the Ravens will be in the conversation. So. Moving on, number 8, you have the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow finally having a huge game. Jamar Chase having a huge game. Yeah, man. Again, just we knew this. We knew this Bengals team would find a way. Obviously, they have same thing with this team. A lot of talent on offense. Their defense has pieces as well. So at the end, I still think the Bengals are going to win this division. I think they'll find a way to do it, to get into the playoffs, and we'll see what happens there. But yeah, Bengals moving on up to 8 after their win. I think that's a good place for them.
Their offense, like you said, there's just so much talent on there, and you are getting that feeling like they're turning things around. Obviously, you finally got a big game of Jamar Chase that we haven't seen probably since I think week 1, and then Joe Burrow is just being more like him as the season goes on, and that's kind of like, I just feel like they're a team that's like slowly getting everything back together, and they're getting to that point, and you're probably going to see a really good team going forward. I think that's why I have them above the Ravens. And I
mean, offensive line obviously might still be an issue, but if they can get that straightened out, everything's going to be fine there. Number 7, you have the Chargers. This is one of the worst good teams I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Just because of, I don't know. I don't know what to think about Brandon Staley as a coach. And obviously some of the players don't really know what to think of him either. With a team with this much talent, obviously, yes, Keenan Allen has been out for a while. But with a team with this much talent, I'm surprised that they're not taking a team like the Broncos and beating them by a lot more than they did.
Yes.
I think this last week, I don't know. I know Denver's really good against the run and stuff as well, but like, it seems like using Austin Eckler, surprise, is the key to this team winning football games. Obviously Mike Williams had a pretty quiet game this last week, but they have a lot of other receiving options as well. So, and then defensively, some pieces, obviously, Joey Bosa still because of his groin injury, but when he gets back there, this defense will be even better. So, Khalil Mack's having a solid year so far over there. So, Again, a lot of talent on this team, but it's just you feel like they should be winning these games a lot more dominantly than they are.
Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, they're 4-2. And they're still winning these games. So this is kind of like our situation, but I would say the Viking situation, but I would say like just just worse. Like I feel like they're barely beating teams even worse. I don't know. It just there's a different vibe. Something
Yeah.
seems like they could just lose to any team some of these times. And I think they do have one of their losses was pretty bad. I forgot who it was against. But they're still 4-2 at the end of the day. So
yeah. 4-2 is 4-2. I'm moving on number 6, the upstart New York Giants. Brian Daboll is doing amazing things with this team. And again, you look at this offense, and you're not like wowed by anybody. Daniel Jones, who I think is actually playing pretty well this year, especially on his 5th-year option. Is he going to work himself into an extension? We'll see. The receiving core weakened by no Kadarius Toney right now. Kenny Galladay's disappeared. And then obviously no Sterling Shepard, but they're still finding ways to get it done, mainly because of running back Saquon Barkley. A lot of people who thought, he was washed and wasn't really going to be much. But yeah, he's carrying this team defensively. Obviously, we saw what they did against Baltimore, forcing some turnovers. They're doing what they can over there. But yeah, Brian Daboll's got this team headed in the right direction.
Yeah, it's crazy to see how well he's doing and how well he's coaching this team and how well this team's doing with just the lack of overall talent in general. I would even like on like their entire team, especially wide receivers right now. But other than Barkley, I mean, who else do they really have that's just top notch at their position?
Right.
I mean, I can't even think of one. So it just says a lot about Daboll. And man, I mean, part of you feel like this, will they be able to keep this up? We've been thinking this probably a couple of weeks now, and they keep showing up. So
yeah, I mean, and a lot of people thinking about the team at 4 too, which we'll talk about a little bit when we get there. Number 5, you have the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Jerry Jones will probably never actually admit this, but if you were able to see inside his mind, I think he would actually be happy with what happened against Philadelphia on Sunday night, because now he has his excuse. It's no more like we're pulling out a guy who's 6-0 or whatever. He has his excuse to get back to Dak Prescott, and Dak Prescott, I think, will play this week. But obviously, week 1, the offense didn't look like much against Tampa, but I think with Dak back in there now and some of these receivers finally getting into the swing of things with the running game, I think they got to figure it out with the 1-2 punch of Pollard and Zeke over there. Defensively, they're playing really well this year.
Pass rush.
Especially their pass rush. Yeah. So I think, again, they're happy Dak's going to be back in there. There's no quarterback controversy. It's all said and done. Dak's going to be back. And we'll see what this team can do. I mean, obviously, they're in a stacked division right now with the Giants and the Eagles. Obviously, this decision was kind of tough between who to put higher between the Giants and the Cowboys. But as Jamie mentioned to me beforehand, the Cowboys do have the head-to-head over the Giants. And I just feel like there's more talent on the Cowboys team.
Yeah, and just Dak's coming back. I mean,
but
he should be able to be. I mean, Cooper Rush did a great job for winning games, but Dak is still one of those quarterbacks that he's just one of the better quarterbacks. And you can only think that he would elevate this team. We see, who knows though? I mean, you see it time to time where a guy like Cooper Rush comes in and it actually gives the team a better chance of wins, whether it's like lack of mistakes or whatever. But Dak is more talented, and I think him coming back, it's just hard to bring them down. You kind of just bring them up just because of that. And they kind of, got things back on track a little bit against the Eagles. So
for sure. Moving on, number 4, you have our Minnesota Vikings, fresh off their win in Miami, rolling into the bye week. Obviously, yes, tons of things with this. Like, they have not played a complete game of football or their best football yet on any portion of the team, but they're still 5-1. And that's the biggest thing with this team is last year we lose most of these games that we've been winning. I get it. You're against backup quarterbacks. It's, whatever situation that you're in, and you're just barely winning games, but it is what it is. You're still winning. Yeah, man. Kevin O'Connell's the right coach for this team. Obviously, he still has a little bit to learn when it comes to play calling. I probably sound like a broken record. This defense needs to get fixed. This last week, they made some splashes, some sacks, turnovers, holding the Dolphins in check for the most part. Point-wise, obviously, they let Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle catch passes all over them. But, yeah, man, 5-1 is 5-1. And there's a lot to like about this Vikings team. And again, like I said, they have not played their best football yet. The culture is where it needs to be now with Kevin O'Connell. Now it's just putting things together, putting the pieces together. And over the bye week, they have a lot of opportunity to get that right.
Yeah, and they beat a team in Miami Dolphins, which is they have a lot of good pieces and they have a pretty good team, even without Tua. And we mostly played against Teddy. And unless, we saw some good things from Tua before he got hurt. But other than that, from the rest of like the information we have on him, it wasn't like he's like that crazy more of a talent than Teddy Bridgewater is right now. Maybe he is. Maybe he comes back and he just keeps bringing out that momentum, and he really is what makes this Miami team tick. But yeah, you're talking about a team that beat the Bills. The only team that beat the Bills, and some power rankings had them as far as one on their list at one point in this season. And it was a game I felt that looked like we were going to win the entire time. But yeah.
Either way, Vikings at 4. I think that's fair. Almost want to move them up to 3, but we are thinking in the way of head-to-head here. If we put Minnesota Vikings head-to-head with Kansas City, their loss, obviously they lost to the Colts, which was rough. But
we would never.
And obviously it was a tight game last or 2 weeks ago against the Raiders, and of course this last week in a tight game against the Buffalo Bills. Patrick Mahomes makes a very un-Patrick Mahomes-like move with that interception at the end of the game, with a minute left and 2 timeouts, I think, which was disappointing. But the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. Travis Kelce's a stud. Once these receivers get a little more in tune with Mahomes over there, they'll be fine.
It seems like they're starting to, especially Juju.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Allen, I don't know. Yeah. He got 0. We had him in our DraftKings. He had 0 reception. I don't even know if he had a target. That was messed up. But
yeah. But defensively, they've never been a really good defensive team, obviously, but their offense keeps them in all these football games. So yeah, I still think Kansas City is one of, like, obviously a top 3 team in this league, and they're going to be in the picture. They'll win their division, and they'll probably be in the AFC Championship game again at the very least. So,
but we're sneaking up on them. They better be watching their backs.
Patty Mahomes is still Patty Mahomes at the end of the day. So let's be honest there. Now, here's where things might, you might be asking, how do you drop a team like Philadelphia now that they're 6-0 over 5-0? Obviously, there's a lot to like about Philadelphia, but I mean, our number 1 team, the Buffalo Bills, we feel like they're just overall, I hate to say overall more talented, because I mean, obviously Philadelphia's got a ton of talent. Jalen Hurts is playing really, really well this year, using his legs and his arms. Pass catcher wise, you got Devontae Smith, you got AJ Brown, who are both playing well. You have Dallas Goedert, who's also playing well over there. Running back wise, Miles Sanders is actually having a really solid season. I'm not a huge Miles Sanders guy, but he's actually playing really well. And defensively, they're solid as well. Nick Sirianni's coaching a really good football team. 6-0 is 6-0, and looking at their upcoming schedule, they might make it to 9-0. Who knows? But yeah, Philadelphia is still a really good team, and as I said, it kind of sucks bumping them down a spot even after going undefeated and moving the Cowboys up closer to them, of course. But it is what it is. There's a lot to like in Buffalo as well.
Yeah, I think it's just how Buffalo wins a lot of their games, where they just demolish. I mean, the Eagles do that, especially earlier in the games. I think they're the second. What was it? They have the most points ever in 6 weeks in one single quarter. In the second quarter, they have the most points ever scored in a single quarter in the first 6 weeks, which is insane. But then they seem to pull off the gas a little bit, and teams can kind of are starting to like catch up and stuff like that. But the Bills, they just don't feel. They've had that one bad loss against Miami, and then a close one against Kansas City Chiefs, which is the third team. Otherwise, like, they've had some absolutely the most dominant wins that we've seen this entire season from any team, and they probably have like 2 of them, the top 2. So
yeah, I mean, and just this offense: Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis.
Gabe Davis being back.
Yep, Dawson Knox, Devin Singletary, or Devin Singletary, is that his name? Right, running back?
Yeah.
Singletary's playing actually really well when people thought maybe James Cook would take the role from him. Singletary's playing well. That defense, solid. I mean, Poyer driving 15 hours just to play in that game because he couldn't fly is huge. And they're still missing Tre'Davious White, I believe, is their other safety or corner. They're still missing Tre'Davious White. He'll come back soon as well. So I don't know, man. Buffalo is Buffalo. I just think if you look at a team with the most talent, Buffalo's got it.
Yeah, especially with Josh Allen. Like, Josh Allen on top of all of that, it just brings them to – it's just hard to argue. You know, they already probably have the best talent in general, but then you add Josh Allen to that mix. Like, I mean, obviously, like, the Eagles have a lot of talent. Kansas City does too, but their receivers aren't the best. Their defense has, like, always been subpar. But the Bills have, like, a good defense, a lot of stars on offense. specifically in Diggs and Gabe Davis, and then you got Josh Allen running the show. So
For
it's hard
sure.
to beat.
Yeah.
I do expect the Vikings to beat them when we do play them and win the Super Bowl still. But what do you know, for now, we got to keep them at one.
Yeah, we will see when that time comes. But I think we got pretty good power rankings. We want to know what you guys think. Let us know down in the comments what you think. Let us know where we're right and wrong. And we'll see you guys next time on the GG Sports Podcast.
Skol Vikings.